All right. Okay, so I'm going to pull it up on my phone, my stream manager. And it still doesn't show that the session has started yet. Stream manager. Okay. Oh, I could probably actually just ask to use T stuff. He says he has no sound. See yes, hear no. Can you hear me now? There's no sound playing except just my mic. Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, so there's about a 30 to 45 second delay, it seems. Or no? You just had it muted? Or maybe there is a 30 to 45 second delay. Okay, anyway. So I guess I'll just keep my phone here so I can kind of see what's happening. I don't know. All right. So anyway, this is Tracktion 7, and I'm mixing a song of mine called Saboteur. It's a song that I wrote kind of about dealing with my my anxiety. It's a pretty dynamic song. It's got very soft parts, and then it's got very loud, kind of explosive parts. So we're going to be using a lot of compression on this track in certain places to keep the audio level a little more solid, a little more even, I mean. So let's see. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I've got my main tracks recorded. Vocal, Jean-Luc is my acoustic resonator guitar. Thumper is my bass. Is my drums, my Alesis command mesh kit. Let's see, and then I've got two different tracks for my Stratocaster. They're actually the same track, but I've got one labeled mono and I've got one labeled stereo. So that when I start doing stereo panning, I'm going to be able to just look at these labels here and know that Strat mono is going to be the one that stays in the middle, and then Strat stereo is going to be the one that I pan to get some stereo separation. So anyway, I'll ask again. Can you hear my mic? Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually I'm going to create a couple of different folders for my tracks so I can kind of keep them delineated from each other. I only have one vocal on this. I don't only have 7-second delay. Okay, cool. That's awesome. So anyway, normally, well, not normally, but if I had a song that had multiple vocals, like if I had harmonies or double tracks, something like that, I would group all of those vocals together, but I just have the one vocal, so I'm going to make one submix folder for what is going to be my backing track. So that's going to be all the instruments. So that will allow me to create a submix track. Okay, so now my entire backing track, all of these things here, are going to be inside of this submix folder. So I can make global changes to all of these tracks at the same time, but then I can also make individual changes for them. And the reason that I group them like that is I like to be able to just grab the entire backing track at once and pull it down if it's overpowering the vocal, so I can get a better balance between the two. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start balancing the instruments of the backing track. This is going to be fairly simple because I don't have a lot going on here. This is a good old-fashioned, just straight up like rock ballad that has got just very simple, concise, but effective elements. So what I'm going to do first off is I am going to mute the vocal because I don't want that to be interfering with what I'm listening to. And then I'm going to go ahead and just start the playback. I'm probably just going to solo the drums first and Jean-Luc so I can hear the two of those together. Because you definitely want the drums to be a prominent element in the mix. So I kind of mix everything around the drums to start out with. And then I can fine tune it from there. So anyway, let's go ahead and start this. Let me move it up a little bit here. Oh, hold on. Okay, I need to solo isolate that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this up for myself a little bit. I don't think that's going to change the way that you hear it. All right, so I've got an acoustic guitar and drums. We're just going to sit and listen for a minute. So this is a quiet part of the song. We've got something loud coming, so we're going to pay attention. All right, so I already know that during that loud part, I'm going to pull the fader down for the acoustic guitar really quick, and I'm going to slowly start bringing it up during the loud part until it gets... I'm going to close my eyes. You do this all intuitively. You don't want to use your eyes too much when you're doing this kind of work, because you want to do it intuitively from your gut and based on what you're hearing. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to start bringing the fader up during this loud part here until it gets to where I feel like there's a good balance between the two elements. Okay, I think that sounds pretty good. Okay, so we've got about -8 decibels on the acoustic guitar. Okay, so the next element that I'm going to bring in is going to be the main electric guitar because it plays a very crucial role in the melody of the song. So before I do that, are you able to hear the music okay? Okay, so let me turn that mic down a little bit. I agree with that. I can definitely hear it very loud. I'm just going to use the main fader on the track. So I'm going to bring the mic down a little bit, and then I'm going to bring this up so I can hear a little better. Because this is so messed up. So the way OBS uses your the way it uses your sound card, it doesn't allow what am I trying to say? Um, okay, the way that a program like Tracktion takes exclusive control of your sound card and the way that that interacts with OBS, somehow I had to do a lot of research on this. But basically, Tracktion will not let go of its hold on your sound card when OBS is running. So I had to find somebody built this. Yeah, the ASIO drivers. Yeah, totally. So somebody built this little program right here, which is awesome. It is amazing. It actually, you put it at the end on your master bus. So everything, this is at the absolute top of the chain. So everything that happens goes through the master bus down here. So, and this is always at the very end of the chain on your master bus as well. This actually turns the audio from Tracktion into a broadcast, and it broadcasts it to it's like some crazy like placeholder on your sound card, and then you go into OBS and you have another identical copy of this VST, this restream, and it almost works like a faux radio transmitter. And so you broadcast from this version of the VST in your DAW to the copy of the VST that is in OBS. And it works awesome. Like, it totally solved the problem. I was so skeptical. It's like, you can't just frickin' download a VST and it's going to fix this massive problem. It totally did. It was, I really, this thing really is a lifesaver. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about that. So anyway, let's get back to mixing music. All right, so I'm going to bring in the mono Stratocaster. And we're going to do the same thing where I'm going to bring up the fader with my eyes closed. Okay, I'm going to mute the drums really quick and just listen to the two guitars together. Okay, and then we'll bring the two elements together. Or not the two, but the three elements together. Hold on, I'll read what you're writing here. My studio won't use my Focusrite. Let me stream as built in ASO. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's basically the exact same problem. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my bass. I'll pull the fader all the way down. I'm going to close my eyes and bring the fader up till it feels natural. Now, I love bass and I love playing the bass, so I always like to make sure that it's featured prominently. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, now here comes the loud part. Okay, that sounds good. All right, so we've got a good balance. Oh, the twang on that guitar, yeah, my Strat, it's 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 an incredible guitar. I've completely taken it apart, gutted it, and I've rebuilt it as an exact copy of a 1954 Stratocaster, which was the original year that they made them. And some of the parts that they used in those original Strats, they only used for like the first few months that they made them in 1954, and then they went to like different types of pickups. Well, this has got those like original pickups in it, and the twang on it is just incredible. It's like the quintessential like southern rock country twang. It's incredible. I freaking love it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the vocal in. Now, this is all unprocessed. This is all everything recorded direct. So everything recorded directly through my audio interface. Like I didn't even record the guitar through my amplifier on this particular song because I had kind of a different direction that I wanted to go with it. So this is everything what we call dry. There's been no effects added to anything. So we'll go into like processing things in a little bit. But the first thing that we want to do is we want to get what's called that dry mix. We want with no processing on anything. We just want to make sure that all of the we want to make sure that all of the elements sound well balanced together, and then we'll start fine tuning everything. And yeah, the drums are MIDI controllers, but they've got mesh heads on them, so it feels exactly like playing a real kit. And the cymbals are weighted, so again, even though they're just MIDI triggers, they feel like the real thing. And the mesh heads are awesome because you can really dig into them and get some real articulation in the way the different drums set, the ways the different drums sound. And the Alesis Command mesh it's not top of the line, but it's pretty close. I mean, it sounds like frickin' drums. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the vocals in now. What did I do? Let me actually, I don't want to do it this way. I actually want to unsolo everything. Okay, except the Strat stereo. I'm going to leave that where it is. And then I'm going to unmute the vocals. Okay. So, and then another thing, what I'm into is in the digital age, we've ended up with really clean sounding recordings. Which it's great for certain genres of music. I mean, most pop music is now recorded entirely digitally. But what I really love is the character of the music from the analog age, like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, when everything was recorded through tubes and transistors. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to run a whole processing suite by a company called Waves. Waves is one of the biggest like professional VST processors out there, and they actually got licensed with Abbey Road, and their engineers went to Abbey Road, and they actually got to get their hands on like all of the old equipment that the Beatles used. And they took these things apart and analyzed them top to bottom, inside and out. Because, I mean, of course, they still have all those things in storage. They don't use a lot of that stuff anymore, but they're not going to get rid of all the Beatles equipment ever. So they actually were able to digitally recreate the circuits of all of these old pieces of equipment so that they actually respond to sound the same way. So I'm going to be able to take all these dry digital signals and I'm going to be able to feed them through digital recreations of analog equipment and we're going to be able to get that warm vintage sound that digital just does not allow for. So anyway, that's what we're going to start doing as soon as I get the vocals balanced as well. So let's go ahead and start it up with the vocals.
3, 4. Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur. It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Yeah, so this sounds really good. I'm just going to make sure to the end everything sounds balanced, and then we'll start doing the fun stuff.
But maybe with me all the while, there's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
I think the music needs to be just a little, just like a decibel louder.
Well, maybe I'm broken.
Hell yeah, that sounds nice. Okay, so I think we got a good balance of most of the elements. Okay, yeah, another thing that I love about this drum kit is that because with an actual acoustic drum set, you'd have to have, you basically put a microphone on every single element, and that way you can adjust the individual volumes and where they sit in the stereo spectrum. But this, I can do that electronically. I can actually go to each one of these pads and I can say, okay, I want this pad to be like exactly this loud, and I want it to sit here in the stereo spectrum. So like if I solo this, like when I do like tom fills and stuff like that, you can hear them moving from left to right in your ears if you're wearing headphones. Let's see. Where's a good fast fill? Yeah, that one was okay, but I know there's one in here that's really fast. Yeah, that one. Here. You can hear it move from left to right. Yeah, like, can you believe that those are not real drums? It's like, it's incredible how real they sound. Okay, so the first thing that I am going to start working on is, I want to put these elements into a space. So, again, since everything was recorded direct, you don't have any room characteristics. Like, you don't have any kind of natural reverb of any kind. Everything is just super dry. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up an echo chamber. So I'm going to create a new track. And I'm going to put a return on this track. Should the return go pre or post fader? Let me think about that for a second. I want this one to be pre-fader. And let's see, if we use Abbey Road Chamber, let's use mono. Let's see how much of my CPU that's going to hog. It looks okay for right now. Okay, so this thing is awesome. This is an actual, you're looking down on the actual echo chamber at Abbey Road Studios. It's a concrete room that they would use a speaker, and from the control room, they would play the music through the speaker. And then they had a microphone in that room as well that they could use to then capture the audio as it's echoing through the room. So with this plugin, this is an actual like IR response replica of that room at Abbey Road. And there's all these pillars in there that make the sound bounce around weird. And you can drag your microphone around. You can either point the speaker at the wall, you can point it out into the room, and that all changes the sound. And then you also have, let's see, you can change to different types of microphones. Like, I know that, like, in the Beatles era, they would have used KM53s in this room. So I'm just going to leave it at the KM53s. And then I know that they would have used an old-fashioned Altec speaker like this. Nowadays, they use one of these BW speakers, which is considered to be like a little more high fidelity. But again, I like the sound of the old stuff. So I pretty much have this room set up the way that the Beatles would have had it set up. So basically what we're doing here is by building this echo chamber, this extra track down here, I'm effectively digitally creating a physical space that we can send the sound into. So I'm going to go ahead and close this for right now, and then I'm going to put a send post fader on the vocals. Let's see. So yeah, so let's put a send on there, and I'm gonna call it echo chamber. Oh, I don't like it when I accidentally capitalize the second letter. Echo chamber. All right, and that should automatically. Oh, hold on. Okay. Yeah, so I forgot to put the return on here. Okay, so this is the Ooh, whoa. Okay. Yeah, now it's starting to eat my CPU. Yeah, this is a CPU hog. I might not be able to use this and run OBS at the same time. Man. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo this, and then I also need to solo isolate the echo chamber, and then we can start playing around with like putting an echo on the vocal to give it some space. Are you still able to hear all this okay?
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane.
All right, so let's...
But all that makes sense is the pain.
All right.
Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again.
Yeah, I might not be able to use this with OBS running.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, a saboteur. A saboteur.
All right, I'm messing around with different mic placements and stuff. I have a lower CPU hit copy of something like this.
It's a job well done.
That I might have to use.
A job complete.
For the demonstration.
A lesson in glorious defeat.
Yeah. Ah, it stinks. All right, I'm going to have to replace it with...
And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep.
All right.
Well, now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. And maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur.
This gives us a very similar kind of reverb sound, and I have some of the same sort of controls. It's not quite as pretty, and this is a free plugin as well. So I guess when I'm streaming, I'm going to have to use this as my echo chamber. But I can go back and put it through the Abbey Road echo chamber at some point. Okay, so let's get that adjusted so that we really are hearing. We don't want the reverb to be like out of control, crazy huge right now. Less is usually more. A lot of times what they say with reverb is when you get the balance to the place where you think it sounds good, cut that in half. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this to a 1 second reflection length, which that's the size of the Abbey Road chamber.
Maybe I'm broken.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm insane.
And then dry wet is
But all that makes sense
how much of the signal we're getting processed and how much of it is not processed.
I'm aware.
So this is at 100%. All we're hearing is the reverb. If we turn it all the way down, all we hear is the dry signal.
Again.
So 50% is usually a good
Maybe
place to start.
I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, a saboteur. A saboteur.
All right, let's go back a little bit.
Or maybe I'm insane. But all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, a saboteur. A Saboteur.
All right, I think that sounds pretty good. Now I'm going to mess with the dry to wet ratio again. I'm going to pull it all the way out and then start creeping it back up to where I think it sounds good.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat. And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep. Well, now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain.
All right, so we got what?
Maybe
35?
I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain
I'm so
a
stupid.
saboteur.
17 and a half.
A saboteur.
And see, it still sounds good, but it's not an overpowering echo. So we're going to leave that as is. Okay, and now we're also going to add a send.
But maybe with me all the while, it's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain.
Okay, so let's see how the drums here, let's see how the drums sound in the echo chamber. I'm going to increase the size a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to reduce the send. And bring it up with my eyes closed. Okay, that sounds plausible. I think that's a good amount of echo on those. Now let's hear it on the electric guitar. Yeah, just adding a little bit of reverb. It just makes you smile. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten in all these, these past 5 years that I've really been studying audio engineering is that when you start smiling, you're going in the right direction. Like when you start grooving to what you're listening to, that means the mix is, it's getting there. But yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, let's bring the voice back in.
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, cool. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some grit to that guitar. We're going to take it into overdrive territory just a little bit. So we're going to solo the guitar, and I am going to pull a plugin onto the track. Let's see. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it pre-fader. Okay, so this is one that I just got, which is really cool, that will allow me to... Where is it? Which one is it? Is it XP Soft Amp? Ah ha 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 ha, yes. Okay. This allows me to select different types of tubes, plates, and capacitors to approximate different kinds of old tube amps. So we are going to, let's see. I love the Vox AC15. That is one of my favorite amps of all time. I can't wait to get one someday. But in the meantime, I can approximate one with something like this. So, let me turn the level down for right now so I don't kill us. And let's listen to this guitar through a simulated tube amplifier. All right, we want the 12AX7 tubes. And then I think we want to be running at 350 volts. We definitely want a 0.22 microfarad cap. Okay, so now I can start turning the gain up and start cooking the tubes a little bit. I'm going to normalize the output. I'll turn it off and turn it back on. And when I really hit it here, yeah, listen to the difference. Yeah, it's just got a little more growl to it. Oh, there we go. Let's reduce the voltage a little bit. Oh, that breakup sounds so good. I want more gain. I want more dirt. All right, so there it is clean, and then I'll turn it back on again. Okay, so let me turn the overall level down a little. Yeah, it's just got that little bit of bite on it now that, oh, love it. All right, so let's hear it in context again.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame.
Yeah, that takes a little while. There's a lot of just closing your eyes and toggling it on and off and on and off.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games.
Yeah, but listen to the bite that guitar has now when it comes back in.
Rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games.
Louder.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
That sounds pretty good. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna leave that there, but I'm gonna disable it. And then I have another. Okay, this is actually from the Waves Abbey Road package. This is a copy of the Red 3751 console. This is the actual recording desk that the Beatles used, all tube driven, of course. And one of the things the Beatles innovated with this was plugging guitars directly into it and turning up the gain on this thing and overloading the tubes to give just a creamy overdriven distortion. The one that I was just using sounds pretty good, but that's kind of a new plugin that I'm messing with. This one I know how to configure it to get exactly the sound I'm looking for. So let's go ahead and try the same guitar again with this plugin. Does it still sound crackly? I don't. Okay. Yeah, when I boosted it all the way. Yeah, and that's how one of those old guitar amps sounds too. It is actually it's completely, it's like it's distorting the tube, it's distorting the speaker. It does get crackly, but we're gonna get a heck of a guitar sound out of this thing. Just listen to this. So I've got the gain all the way up, and then I'm actually going to increase the drive as well. Yeah, listen to that. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's rock and roll, man. All right, now let's listen to that back in context.
Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The Saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. Saboteur.
Alright, so I'm turning the low end up on the guitar again a bit. A little more high too. I really want to drive those tubes. Yeah.
Job well done.
That's a little too muddy maybe, but
Job complete.
Let's go to the next one.
Now you see me crying, but it's me that caused the pain. Maybe I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur. A saboteur.
Now we're coming to the really twangy part. Let's hear what this sounds like now. We'll fine tune it some more.
But maybe with me all the while, there's truth that lays behind my smile. But now I see you crying, and it's me that caused the pain. Oh, baby, I'm really trying, because I don't want to remain a saboteur.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hear that again without this on. That's just clean. I'll put the overdrive on. Yeah, that's a way better sound. I'm just going to stick with that. There's a difference sometimes between freeware like this and something like this, which is not anywhere near free. The only reason that I was able to get this Abbey Road package is because I think back in, what was it, in May or something? May or June? They had like a 90% off sale on their site. This thing on its own, the Red console package, which comes with the Red 17, the Red 3751, both in mono and stereo, that entire package usually costs $300 just for that. So I got this part of the suite. I got it for like $30. I was able to get the entire, basically the entire Abbey Road plug-in suite. I got the entire thing for under $200. It was amazing. I've got so many toys that I can't even believe it. Anyway, so I'm going to listen to this in context again.
Rise again, and maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, Saboteur.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about tubes, especially for guitars, is how reactive they are to signal level. That's one of the great things that makes tube amps so desirable, is when you're playing nice and soft, it's still pretty clean. But then when you really dig in, it heats the tubes up like immediately, and they start to crackle and sputter and hiss. And this completely recreates that. So you can hear in the softer section with the electric guitar, when I'm just playing, just a nice little picking rhythm. It's nice and clean, but it's not until I go in and really dig in that you start to get the overdrive. You know, that's still nice and clean. You hear the hiss. You can clearly hear the hiss. And just a little bit of breakup on those notes that are a little bit louder, but it's still nice and clean. But then when you get to this next part, and I really dig in, it just instantaneously gets pissed off, and it's amazing. I love it.
Saboteur. It's a job well done, a job complete.
Okay, so that's good. That guitar, tone-wise, I think I've got it pretty much where I want it. What I would definitely start working on now with that guitar is I want it to have more of its own reverb. I want that guitar to have more echo on it. So I'm actually going to give it its own post fader output to the echo chamber. Okay, and I'm gonna delete this thing. This isn't the right application for it. So now the guitar will have its own individual send over to the echo chamber, so I can make just the guitar have more reverb on it above what we've already added to the global up here on the submix.
And maybe I can't unwind.
Yeah.
It's a job well done, a job complete, a lesson in glorious defeat.
You know, maybe I should go fully wet.
And as he creeps, he never sleeps. He pulls me down into the deep.
Okay, and then I'll...
Maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. And maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, Saboteur. Saboteur. It's a job well done.
Yeah, okay.
Job complete. A lesson in glory.
Okay, and now the next thing that I'm going to do to the guitar is I'm going to add a compressor to it. Compression is one of the absolute most important things to know about mixing music, and it has taken me, like 6 years ago, I didn't know what a compressor was. 6 years later, I finally know how to use one. I mean, it's not like it's a stupid hard concept or anything like that, but I don't know. It took me years before I finally understood what a compressor is, what it does, and when to use different types of compression. So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to pull in It is a digital recreation of the LA2A compressor, which was invented in the late 50s. This is one of the most iconic compressors of all time. It's stupid simple to use. Basically, all a compressor does is you set... okay. With this particular compressor, you set what's called a peak reduction threshold. So basically, you tell it anything that goes above this signal level, squash it. And what this does is it makes a more even volume in the elements. So, like, you've got the really quiet guitar part, and then you've got the really loud guitar part. So what a compressor will allow you to do is it will allow you to mix based on the quiet part. So you can make sure that the quiet part of whatever track it is that you're focused on, you can make sure that the quiet part comes through the mix the way that you want it to. But normally what'll happen is when the loud part of the song comes, well, then it's too loud. It's too loud in that part. So the compressor, what it will do is once the signal reaches the threshold that you set, it'll automatically turn the volume down on that. And it'll hold it there based on what's called a release time. So with compressors, you have an attack time and you have a release time. The attack time is how quickly the compressor comes on and goes into action, and the release time is how quickly it lets the signal go back up to normal once it's no longer exceeding the threshold that you set. So with the LA2A, it's what's called a variable mu compressor, and it will... It handles like the attack and release on its own. Like it's basically just got a set attack and a set release. You can't mess with those. So basically the only control that you as the user has over this is actually setting that threshold that it's going to kick on at and telling it how far to compress when it does. And we basically just do that with the peak reduction knob over here. So again, this is a very old piece of technology, but it's still so relevant. It has such a classic sound to it, and it has its own growl. The more you compress, the hotter it gets because it's tube driven as well. So it's like when you start to add all of these elements together, all these tube driven pieces of equipment together, and you've really got them cooking, they impart a warmth to the music that modern music does not have because there aren't tubes and transistors running this equipment anymore. It's all digitized. So it's awesome, that there are companies out here doing this that allow us to do this in the digital realm. Can you still buy an LA2A and put it in your gear rack in your studio? You sure can. I mean, one of these, if you want like a vintage LA2A, it's going to cost you $5,000 or more. They're very expensive pieces of hardware, but it's really nice to be able to have a digital version of that and get that sound. For a fraction of the cost. So anyway, what we're going to do is I'm now going to take the guitar and I'm going to mix it so that the quiet part of the electric guitar cuts through the way that I want it to. And then we'll start using the compressor on the loud sections to get them squashed down. I don't know if any of that made sense, but...
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane.
And I'm going to use the fader on the red console for this.
Is a pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The Saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind
Okay, so what we're going to do
rise again.
is we're going to start turning the peak reduction up.
And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Yeah, maybe I'm trapped inside
Until we have like a solid 3 decibels of peak reduction.
Saboteur.
That's usually a good place to start.
Saboteur.
And then you can see that if we go to the quiet part,
Maybe I'm aware.
you know, we're getting maybe 1 to 2 decibels of volume reduction.
The saboteur.
You know, so it's not working quite as hard, but as soon as the loud part comes in, it's going to go up to 3 because that's where we set the threshold.
After all these silly games.
And now, if we solo that, you can hear how the volume difference isn't quite as extreme between the two parts. So it's off right now. Okay, so let's turn it back on. So it's much quieter when that guitar comes in. Well, not much quieter, but just enough quieter to make it sound more balanced and in control.
Saboteur.
Frickin' gorgeous, I love it. Now, another technique that I'll use with this particular compressor sometimes is I'll actually set it so that it doesn't compress at all in the quiet part. So like if I went to the really quiet part and start turning the threshold down so that maybe it only comes up to 1 decibel of noise reduction in the quiet part. You see that the needle just barely moves in this quiet part. Yeah, so it comes up to about 1. So that means that during the quiet part, there's no perceivable volume difference. 1 decibel is really not enough to hear, but 2 or 3 definitely is.
Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame.
And now when the loud part comes back in,
Rise again.
we'll be able to watch it compress it even more.
And maybe I can't unwind.
And see how it just holds there? Because it's just getting bombarded with that louder signal. God, that sounds good. Dude, that sounds awesome. I love that guitar.
Saboteur.
Okay, cool. All right, so that is that guitar track pretty much processed at this point. That sounds really, really good. Next thing I'm going to do... Oh, I've got to go in like 15 minutes. Oh, well. Let's do something similar with the acoustic guitar really quick, too, because that's one of the main elements that floats through the song. And again, we're going to use an LA2A on that guitar as well. The LA2A just it has the right characteristics, attack and release wise, and compression ratio wise. That it just makes it work really well with guitars, and it's a really simple thing to just place on a track that just makes it sparkle a little bit. So let's go ahead and look. I'm just going to solo this. I'm going to start raising the threshold until we get just a little bit of movement in the needle. There we go. It's twitching just a little bit. Okay, so you can see that this is even this is even compressing more than it was on the electric guitar. So this is going to be, they call the compressor the glue of the mix. Because it just kind of glues everything together. And it just gives you control over the dynamic range of the sound. Compressors are my favorite thing, and I probably have more compressors than I have of any other type of plugin.
A job complete. A lesson here.
All right, so what we can do now is I'm actually going to turn up the gain on the acoustic guitar till we can hear it really well.
Well, maybe I'm broken, or maybe I'm insane, but all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware of who's to blame. The saboteur.
Yeah, that's nice.
Maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who...
Yeah, just listen to how much better that's all glued together now, and it sounds so much more cohesive, especially when everything comes back in this loud explosion part. That acoustic guitar and the electric guitar working together, I mean, there's just so much cohesion between them now. Just a smoothness.
Rise again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. Maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everything gets so much better once you get the compressors involved. And the bass. Okay. Now we are going to turn this into a funk machine. The bass is the next thing we're going to work on. Okay, so bass is a little bit different. We are going to use a different type of compressor on this. Okay. This is a freeware compressor from a guy who calls himself Analog Obsession. He's on Patreon, and every single last one of his plugins are free. And he kind of does the same thing that Waves does. And he makes lots of good stuff, but his compressors are awesome. Waves makes a better LA2A than Analog Obsession did, but this particular compressor here, this is like an old-fashioned limiting amplifier. This is like the compressor that they used on Paul McCartney's bass. This thing is awesome. I mean, you want to talk about being able to get something cooking? This thing will do it. Now, this one has got more controls on it. This has got variable attack and release time on it. It's got a variable ratio control on it. These things down here, these are not true to the original device. These are filters that allow you to compress just like on certain frequencies. That's cool, but if you're going for like those vintage sounds, I don't mess with any of this stuff because this stuff didn't exist on the original device. So I'm going to start running the bass through this, and we are going to get thumps that are just killer. And we're probably going to compress it like 2 or 3 times to get the effect that we want. So we're going to solo the bass. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the ratio all the way up. I'm going to turn the output way down. And I'm going to turn the input up until the needle basically pegs. Okay, and I'm going to turn the output back up so that we can just barely hear the bass again. I'm going to turn the release all the way down. I'm going to turn the attack all the way down. And what I'm doing is I'm going to start turning the attack up until I start hearing the click of my finger on the string. I can kind of hear it, but I really want that pluck to be there. Yeah. Okay, so the attack is set. And now I'm going to move the release up until I lose some of that heat, because you can hear it's really distorted right now. I want a little bit of that heat. I want a little bit of that fuzz to remain, but I don't want it to be quite that hot. Yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm going to turn the output down, and I'm going to turn the input down, because we don't want to actually... We don't want to cook it this much. And we only want maybe a 2-to-1 or a 4-to-1 ratio. Okay, so let's go back to the quiet part and set the input just until the needle starts moving. Okay, now I'm going to turn the output up so we can really hear what it's doing. Look, that sounds so sweet. Yeah. You hear that when I've got it off versus when I turn it on, and we just get a little bit of extra harmonic sizzle. Just a little bit of a rumble, but the attack of each note is crystal clear. And look at how much it compresses. I mean, it is really squashing that thing now. Yeah. It's off. And then on, we just get this little brrr, just this beautiful little rumble that we don't get when it's not there. Yeah. Now let's put it back in context and turn it up. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm broken.
Listen to that fat bottom end. It's so fat.
But all that makes sense is the pain. Maybe I'm aware.
Maybe a little too fat.
Of who's to blame. The saboteur rides again. And maybe I can't unwind after all these silly games. And maybe I'm trapped inside with a man who bears a name, the Saboteur. The Saboteur.
Yeah.
It's a job well done.
Okay, I gotta take off for right now, but I'll be back later and we'll add more compressors to that bass track. But I don't know, hopefully this has been interesting. I know this is a lot of stuff that I wish I wish I would have had someone to like, I don't know, explain some of this stuff when I was first figuring it out. And I'm still no expert by any means. I just know what I think sounds good, and I've learned how to use some toys. But anyway, hopefully it's kind of interesting. And I can't wait to hear what kind of other stuff you're putting out and what you're working on. So anyway, I'm gonna stop the stream for now, and I will talk to you later. Bye.